Welcome to The Art of the Possible, unlocking the full potential of SharePoint. My name is David Cooper, and I'm one of the senior solutions architects over here at Xperience Group. A quick run through of the agenda for today. We're going to be looking at the digital transformation of SharePoint. SharePoint as a foundation for modern collaboration, Copilot and AI readiness and how this links to SharePoint, and some key takeaways and actions. So who are we? We are Xperience Group. We have over 50 years of experience in the IT sector, starting out at business applications and diversifying into managed IT, connectivity, and cybersecurity as well for you. So through our infrastructure and network teams and managed IT services, we can support your ERP and CRM systems, all underpinned by our cybersecurity team and monitoring services. So we reduce the complexity of your IT by having a single supplier. All services are integrated into a single model, so you have one point of contact for any given service. We're reducing the risk and increasing the control, and to give you better business agility. We can help to drive your business efficiencies through digital transformation. So let's get stuck in. Microsoft SharePoint's been around for some time, and it has a bit of a bad rap in some circles. Most people think that SharePoint is just a file storage system, a dumping ground for any of your old documents and data. People find it hard to navigate and see it as very, very dull and flat looking. This is what people think it is. But what if it was a modern digital workplace, an intelligent intranet, and a full collaboration hub, integrated fully into the Microsoft 365 stack, and the baseline and the basis for your upcoming AI projects? That's what it can look like. So what can it look like? With new communication sites and new dynamic sites, we get your corporate scheme in place, large clickable buttons, very pretty looking interface with dynamic elements. You have news articles and news feeds coming in, dashboards showing up-to-date information that your users might need, quick links to various elements and various places, event spaces where you can track and sign up to events that are ongoing, and even videos, YouTube videos or stream videos embedded into your news feeds and your pages. Microsoft SharePoint has been around for a lot of years now, and it's come an awfully long way. In 2001, it started life as a piece of software that you would install on your servers on premise to allow your users to have access to a simple document management platform. It's been added to and improved over the years to add additional features like team sites, as well as wiki pages, news articles, and in 2016, it became integrated into the Microsoft Office 365 stack. So no longer did you have to install it on premise. You can get it as a piece of commodity software from Microsoft, and it's included in the majority of the Microsoft 365 licenses. And today, not only is it the document repository of choice, it's also where we're seeing Microsoft push a lot of their AI capabilities. You can now use SharePoint as a data set, or the data that's in SharePoint as a data set for your AI agents, allowing you to provide agents to your staff who can quickly and easily search through that data set and provide right information to them, whether that be policy documentation, whether that be the figures for financial year for those who have access to it. And we're seeing an awful lot of adoption in that area as well. But why does this really matter? This matters because it allows for hybrid and remote working. No longer do users have to be sitting on a VPN or in a specific location on site to be able to access core critical data. They can access it from the right place at the right time with all the security around it that you would want and expect. It's becoming the single place for your digital tools. Things like SharePoint lists give you a great way of storing and searching data. You can also add on additional third-party applications into Microsoft SharePoint. The intelligent content management. The pages are dynamic. You can provide access to specific elements within SharePoint based on a user's security group. And it's becoming the foundation layer for innovation. Because your data is sitting in SharePoint, the rest of the Microsoft stack can interrogate and integrate with that. So things like Microsoft Power Automate can create automated flows based on events and based on data held within Microsoft SharePoint. So let's take more of a look into the foundations of things we need to know about SharePoint. Firstly, it's yours. It could be branded to look exactly like your corporate standards or to mirror your corporate standards. That includes color schemes, icons, but now, as of this year, fonts as well. If you have a corporate font, that too can be embedded into SharePoint, which has never been possible before. It's a collaboration platform. You know, it's not just somewhere to store things. This is where you see the true benefit of things like co-authoring, the ability to edit and work on a single document at once and have that one document be your authoritative source of truth. No more sending documents out via Excel and losing complete control of them. The integrations that are possible. As I say, it already has integrations into the majority of the Microsoft 365 stack, but it doesn't end there. There are other integrations to countless other third-party applications. Things like Jira or some of the Atlassian suite or HubSpot or any of the other big kind of CRM platforms. But its very core, you get additional features such as version control. It will automatically store 500 previous versions of any documentation, which means you can go back and retrieve old versions of files and see who's overwritten things. Access control, the ability to quickly and easily manage who has access to data, putting the power of that back into managers' hands rather than the hands of people in IT. No more raising a ticket and expecting that file permissions are going to be set right. You can check yourself and you can take action if it's not correct. And a recycle bin. There's 2 stages of recycle bin, so if somebody deletes anything, they can go back and retrieve it within 90 days. If they don't and you still need it, the admins get a further 90 days. So we're now going to drop into a quick demo and show you some of the things we've just been talking about. So here is our landing page. This is our intranet page for Contoso Electronics, a demo site from Microsoft. And here we can see from the slides earlier the lovely color scheme that we've got in place. And here's the general layout of the site. So we've got what's called the hero bar here, which can have images, buttons, links to news articles, links to external web pages, whatever you need. News articles related to this particular site. An event calendar is included in every single SharePoint site. Here we've got some additional buttons. And on the right-hand side here, we've got this vertical section that includes dashboard elements, quick links to various Viva connections information, and some recommended videos. So from a theming perspective, I mentioned that this is your site. We can make it look however you need it to. So within the settings, very easy to quickly change the look to one of the many themes that are included within Microsoft SharePoint. Hit save, job done. That will apply for everybody as soon as that theme is applied. One of the new features is the site branding. So within the site branding, we can very quickly and easily create a new theme based on your corporate colors. So in here, I'm going to just pick a few colors, a nice lime green. And we're also going to pick a secondary color. My sister once had bedroom walls painted lilac and lime green, and it was a surprisingly good combination. But not on here. But anyway, I digress. So we're going to create this new theme here, possibly the worst theme for any site ever. Let's go back home and let's apply that new theme. I also mentioned in there that you can upload fonts. So it requires your administrators to provide and upload the fonts to the main admin center first, and then they can be applied throughout Microsoft SharePoint. And there we go. That is truly awful. So let's change it back to something a little more subtle. There we go. Much better. So along the top bar here, we have our menu system. Now, these menu items can be links to other areas within the SharePoint site, but they can just as equally be areas outside of the SharePoint site. And this can quickly be edited here, and this gives you the structure of the folders and all the different elements that we have. And as I say, we can quickly rearrange these ones. So we want to put the IT help section ahead of distribution and groups, but I also, for tech help, I want to put in a link. I'm going to link to Google. We're going to open that in a new tab as well. Let's OK that. Hit save, and then under tech help, there we go. We've got a link to Google. Now, I mentioned about some of the dynamic elements within SharePoint. And this is down to things like audience targeting. So with audience targeting turned on, when we edit these links in here, we can now specify who we want to target. So I only want to provide this link to people who are a member of the Global Administrator Group. Now, my account does not have access to that group membership. So if I refresh this page, there we go, that's disappeared because I am not a member of the Global Administrators Group. Moving on to news articles. So news articles are effectively a SharePoint page, and anybody with site member or higher privileges can create a new news post. And these posts are just pages. You can start with a blank page and make it your own, but there are some Microsoft templates here for new starters, for training, so you can import training modules. Visual pages, which include additional images, a company-wide announcement or message, a recap, or just a basic text page. You can also create your own templates. So, for example, we were to let's take this visual one and create a post. We can give it a title. Oops. And within here, we can edit these documents, edit these elements. I'm going to delete that particular picture, but I would like to put in a different picture, or I don't want to put a button in here. And this button is going to say, click me, and take me to something.com. And I have that lined in the middle. You can edit the text, edit the parts as you need to, and publish. Once an item is published, you can also send it as an email. So if you are the CEO, as an example, and you wanted to send it to all company, you can click that, add an additional message, and that will send that post out as an email, or just as a link. So here's a new article, click here, rather than sending the whole body of text. We're going to skip that for now. And then when people click on the news article, they can like it, save it for later, and for some pages, if it's enabled, you can also enable comment sections at the bottom. So let's turn the comment section back on and update that news. So once a news post is completed, it's not fixed in time. It's just a page that can also be edited just like any other. Let's post that. So let's go back to our page, and here we can see the news post that I created previously, and there's my lovely comments at the bottom there. So the main landing page, as I touched on earlier, can host many different types of content. And for people with the right permissions, like I say, site member or above, the homepage is just as easy to edit as the news articles. So within here, if you edit the page, we can create entirely new sections. Within each section, we have different web parts that we can include. So as an example, I'm not interested in this one. I want to delete that piece from here. But what I do want to hear instead is I want to have a video. And that could be a YouTube video, something from Microsoft Stream. All you need is the URL for each of those. And with Microsoft Stream, I think you can even pick it from a list of available videos. So let's edit that. So here you go, content videos on this site. Oh, by default, it will take all the videos from the site. So let's delete that for now. Let's try something else. What else can we do? So we can add in banners, buttons, call to action, quick links. Quick links are very handy if you want to give users access to SaaS applications or useful web links. You can add just static images or a gallery of images, something along the lines of a corporate event that's been taking place and you want to highlight those images in one go. You can put in a shortcut to the document library and files and media, conversations and highlights from Viva Engage, which is what I touched on earlier. You can put in an org chart, link to news articles, which we've already got in this page, or add a call out to people, so you can add specific people. You can embed Microsoft Forms, Microsoft Power BI, and other quick charts, things like maps, weather, and world clocks, which is what we've got in the right-hand side here, but also things like code snippets and embedding URLs. So if you have corporate website and you want to link to that information or embed news articles from your public-facing website in here, you can do that as well. So as we can also see on the right-hand side here, we can change the entire layout of the page. So at the moment, we have two columns. We have this main column here and this column here. But we can change that to be 1/3 right or 1/3 left, or just a single column. And each area, each section can be dynamically changed or very easily changed to whatever you need. Also changing different background accents for each given section. So in order to change these elements, it's very, very straightforward. Once we have the pages as we like them, we simply hit republish, and that will republish that version of the start page to all visitors of the site. So one of the new elements within SharePoint is the tight integration with something called Viva Connections. So Viva Connections is part of the Viva suite of tools from Microsoft and allows the integration of SharePoint with other tools, other third-party applications. For example, with your payment system and your expenses systems, you can see what your latest payslip is going to look like, when it's going to get paid on. Have a look at the menu for the cafe in your restaurant, if there is one. Having a look at time off and reporting sick days, time off, wellness days, all integrated with your HR system. Things like gratitude and sending praise to colleagues. And these cards could be customizable as with everything else. So in here we can add in new cards for OneDrive, for example, give people access to their OneDrive in one easy to view place. And it's customized for mobile and for desktop views as well. So here we are back to our home page. Within SharePoint, we have this left-hand menu here. The home button actually will take you to your SharePoint start page, which is the primary page within SharePoint, where you can access all of the different sites that you have access to. We also have My Sites. So in here, this is a list of the sites that we have access to, that we are allowed or that we have been provided membership for. Any news articles that relate to any of the sites to which we have access. Quick access to My Files. So this can be files that you've accessed within SharePoint or within OneDrive. This demo site I haven't done a great deal with, so it's going to be empty. Also lists, which I'll touch on shortly, and Viva Connections. So having a look at your dashboard, newsfeed, and accessing important links and applications, which is where we went to previously. So what I'm going to do now is I'll close that down. I'm going to go to the retail site. So this is another site that I have access to. Because this is a separate site, it has a complete different theming setup. So you can brand and theme each site differently depending upon your needs. This is the default layout. This is what you'd get with a brand new site. So an empty newsfeed, an outline of activity on your site, and a list of documents in your document library. And as we showed before, in order to update these pages, quick and easy to just click and click on an element and delete these different parts that we don't need and start again. So I'm going to have a nice big, where's it got, hero bar. There we are. And in here, this hero bar is going to have a whole load of slides. Okay. So let's discard my changes for now. Let's go back to the landing. So as you can see, SharePoint is incredibly customizable. Got those dynamic elements. You can bring data in from not just SharePoint, but also third-party applications and third-party sites. It makes it a really good landing page and central point of information for your workforce. So one of the things we're going to look at now is a little bit of Microsoft Teams. So more and more we're seeing a lot of people spending most of their time in Teams, sending messages, having voice conversations, telephone conversations. If you have the telephony module included as well, it's becoming the go-to location for most people to spend their time. And within here, we can see Viva connections here. So what we were seeing on the Microsoft SharePoint site is also visible in here. So the OneDrive object we added is here. All the information that we want users to have can come into one place. And with these connections, you can pin these and unpin these either manually or automatically through the Microsoft Teams Admin Center. So you can make this visible and move it up and down, place it exactly where you want your staff to access it. And of course, it's not just the dashboard, but also all of the news articles that we had published are also visible in here. So SharePoint is not just that standalone product. It is closely integrated with Teams and the rest of the Microsoft stack. And we can see, there we go. Here's the news articles, and here's my news article from earlier on. So you can have all of this content available to people without them even having to leave Teams. Teams can start to become the one central point where all of your users spend their time. And as we can see from here, if we click on the landing, we can get the full SharePoint page in here if people prefer to access it in this way. So I'm just going to very quickly hop over to SharePoint again. And let's have a look for our documentation. So there is a default document library for every site, and you can add more if you need to, and provide dynamic access to those, as we did with the audience targeting. So as an example, if you're a member of the finance team, then you can see the finance directory or the finance document library. If you're a HR team, you can see the HR one, etc. But for most people, you can hide those away if they don't have the relevant membership. So if we open up this document here, there's a Word document, and this includes some employee information, social security numbers. So one of the things we talked about is access control and version control. In terms of document collaboration, we can see in here that we can share a copy of this document, or share, a link to this document to other people within the team. Please can we work on this? So we can send a message to Christine. Christine will now receive an email with a link to the document. And when Christine opens, a little icon of Christine's face will appear up here, and we'll start to see that we can both work on the same document at the same time. Unfortunately, Christine is away today, annoyingly, but we would see each other working at the same time. And that is true both in the web and also in the desktop version. So for those users who need additional tooling, the web version of the applications, as you can see, are largely the same as Microsoft Word.
It does not have all of the functionality, but it does have probably 95% of the functionality that people would need. The ability to do references, reviews, insert tables, change the layout, change the theming. And so most people should be at least fairly comfortable working in here because it looks almost like Microsoft Word. But for those who do need those extra capabilities or are a bit more comfortable in the full application, you can do that. And that Word document, the Word application, will access SharePoint directly and enable that collaboration in real time as well. If people have been making changes, we can hit catch up, and this will tell us not only who's been active on this document, but also allow us to quickly open the version history. So as we can see, here's the version history. This is what the document looked like on the 10th of May at 4:30 in the morning, and this is what it looks like now. If we wanted to go back to this version, just hit restore, and that will restore that version back. So my changes, there you go, have now gone. And we're back to the known working version or the known good version of the document. So we're going to close that down, and I'm going to accidentally delete this. Several clicks to accidentally delete something, but it can happen. So let's go to the site contents. And within site contents, there's a nice button here for the recycle bin. And within here, we can see here's the document in question, the date and time it was deleted, who deleted it, who initially created the document, and where its original location was. So I can quickly, as the user, I only see the things that I've deleted. If I had a higher membership, I would see more documents. But administrators, as I mentioned, will have the ability to go back and restore documents from a longer time period. So I'm going to click restore. There you go, that's restored one item. So if I now go back to my documents, demo files, there we go, back to where it should be. Okay, so that's a nice quick overview of SharePoint, some of the features and some of the customizations that you can do within SharePoint. So let's go back to our presentation.
Microsoft are seeing SharePoint as very much the core of the AI offering for Microsoft 365 Enterprise. So let's see how we can get ourselves ready for it. So the rise of AI has taken everybody by surprise, I think. It's been the largest or the quickest adoption of any new technology that I think the world has ever seen. And people are using it every day in different ways to help speed up business processes, to help get the answers they need quicker. And this can help across your business too, with having your data in the right place and accessible to Microsoft Copilot. You too can interrogate your data in a much more structured and natural way without having to rely on complex spreadsheets. Ask the question in a human way and hopefully get a human response. Interesting to know is that AI is already in use by 3/4 of the people in their working lives. If you haven't adopted it yourself as a business, the majority of the people who are using it are using something else. They're not using Microsoft Copilot. They're probably using something like ChatGPT, and they're pulling that data into your business. With Microsoft Copilot and providing that to your users, you can start to alleviate some of the issues of potentially sensitive corporate data being input into a system that you have no control or no oversight of, and potentially harmful results coming back. With Microsoft Copilot and your data in SharePoint, providing that to your users, you should know that those questions, that potential corporate data is not leaving your system, but you're also getting relevant results back. So bring your own AI. This is exactly what I was talking about. Gen Z and millennials are more likely to be using AI and possibly something that's not even provided by your organization to complete some of their work. Less so for Gen X and boomers, not really a surprising result, but by circumventing corporate policies and inputting questions and information about your organization to something that is not a business tool can potentially be very harmful. You could end up with data loss and certainly irrelevant results coming back, which can harm the business. How does this fit alongside SharePoint? Are constantly reviewing and building new agents to help you and your users get the answers you need quickly without having to think about a specific prompt and directly inside the tooling you're using. Many of these agents are being built for you with SharePoint. The next logical step is to think about the security of AI and the security of the data on which it's being taught. Business leaders are going to be concerned about data oversharing and data leaks, fearing that these AI tools might grant faster access to content with incorrect permissions, making these files easier to locate. Business leaders want to know quickly, are these AI tools being used in a risky way? Are there people trying to circumvent the controls? And also want to know about the governance and risk visibility and wanting insight into the prompts and responses to ensure that people are using it in the correct way and that they are complying with corporate policies. So we're going to start looking into how Microsoft Copilot 365 can help with that. Provides tools that you can use to secure and govern the use of Microsoft 365 Copilot. These tools exist within SharePoint and within the other Microsoft solutions, such as Microsoft Purview. You're able to assess oversharing risks and use reports and dashboards to identify any content that may have been shared too broadly, and fix excessive permissions using policy recommendations from the oversharing report. And also, optionally, preventing Microsoft Copilot from processing or referencing sensitive files. So if you know what your data structure looks like and you know the data types that you're working with, you can exempt those from Microsoft Copilot in the very first instance. You want to be able to protect against data loss and insider risk. You can review how users are interacting with Microsoft 365 Copilot and get alerts if risky behavior occurs, such as unethical usage, copyright violations, or attempts to access large volumes of sensitive data. You can protect sensitive files wherever they live or travel. Copilot responses and Copilot created files will inherit protections from the source file. So if there's a response that's been generated for you, it will have those permissions set, commensurate with where the data came from. And it can dynamically apply security policies based on risky actions. For example, if a user performs a series of Copilot actions that indicate a high level of risk, we can automatically add them to a more strict security policy. And lastly, how do we govern AI? So we can get visibility into Copilot interaction text and linked files and audit log entries for those Copilot interactions. They'll all be stored centrally within Microsoft 365. Copilot interactions are included in admin search results, such as investigations for compliance purposes, potential ethical violations, or for litigation or legal reasons. And we can manage the life cycle of Copilot prompts and responses alongside all of the Microsoft 365 data. So you can put Copilot prompts and responses on a legal hold. So let's look at some of these specifically. When it comes to ensuring the protection of the data within Microsoft SharePoint, we need to consider the tools that Microsoft Purview provide, such as the ability to set sensitivity labels. These sensitivity labels that we have in front of us here are the ones that Xperience Group mandates that we use. Every file, every email, everything we do within the Microsoft 365 platform must have a sensitivity label associated to it. So here we can say public. This presentation, for example, will have the public flag on it. So we know that it can be shared publicly without any risk to the business. Anything internal is exactly that. We have confidential documentation that can be shared externally with customers. And we have restricted and private for higher sensitivity. Once we know what sensitivity of data we have, we can then look at the classifiers. What type of data do we have? So the ones that are on the screen now are just some of the many predefined classifiers for data. It will already know about the structure of driver license numbers, NHS numbers, national insurance numbers. If you're storing any data like that, the system will be able to interrogate and tell you how many records of a given type you have that match those patterns. You can create your own trainable classifiers if you have your own requirements or your own data set that you're concerned about. You could build one out and Microsoft will be able to understand that too. Once you have that, you can then identify when that data is going missing, when that data is trying to be leached via email or via other methods. So data protection, obviously we need to be mindful of things like the GDPR. Are we retaining data that we should hold? What is the maximum data retention that we want? And you could create policies that are commensurate with corporate or external governance requirements. So the default is for 7 years. Retain items that are created for 7 years and then delete them automatically. Where there are exemptions for that, where you have specific finance records or medical records that you need to keep for longer, you can apply a separate retention label for those items. So what are some key next steps and things So what considerations and actions do we recommend? First and foremost is to reassess the current SharePoint usage in your environment. By default, Microsoft SharePoint is very open and provides people the ability to create their own SharePoint site and their own team sites without any administrative approval or oversight, which can be incredibly dangerous. We go to many organizations and find that they have 10, 20, 30 SharePoint sites where people have tried things out over the years or started a project and never tidied up after themselves. And you can very quickly end up in a bit of hot water with corporate data sitting idle in a SharePoint site that nobody's bothered to set permissions to correctly. So it's very important that you understand exactly what you currently have so that you can get that in a good way before we progress any further. Map SharePoint to business goals. So the usage of SharePoint could be aligned to many different business cases. Would you like to align it to be a communication site? Is it a way of communicating news and information and policy to your user base? Are you intending to use it as an intranet, for example? You could also use it as a knowledge sharing platform, by introducing wiki pages and other things like that. You could also have it as a project site. So there are templates out there to allow you to create sites which can bring in external contractors, guest users of Entra ID into a project site with things like issue tracker and Gantt charts and document collaboration platform all built in. You can start small by picking one impactful use case and carrying on from there. Things like creating a modern team site for a single department, gauging feedback, seeing what the art of the possible is, and then replicating that across further departments as you go. You can create applications within SharePoint for things like travel approval. Get users to log in, create a ticket, that kicks off a workflow that requests managerial approval, and that can all be done from within one app. You could use existing information from Power BI if you're a Power BI user, and embed some of those reports directly into those SharePoint sites to give people a dynamic and clickable view of data within your organization. So we ourselves, we have a list of our recruitment information, on our SharePoint site. So we get to have a very quick and easy view of how recruitment is going throughout the business. leverage the Microsoft 365 integration. So SharePoint is not only a web portal where you can go to for document storage, it can be integrated with OneDrive. So if you are a member of a specific group, then you can have a policy that says automatically map this SharePoint document library into my computer. So it maps almost like a real shared drive that you're used to seeing. You can also have integration directly into things like Outlook and Teams. Interestingly, SharePoint is the underlying technology that is used not only for SharePoint, but also for Teams and for OneDrive. So it all links together. We can prepare ourselves for AI and future scalability by organizing content, organizing our data, setting the right metadata, and setting the right set of permissions. We can make sure that the data is in the right state, ready for any kind of AI adoption. You need to really think about the wider strategy and where the information is currently stored, and start to think about bringing that all together into the right place where you can take the right action and have the right set of oversight. And also, don't do it alone. You know, we at Xperience Group, we're here to help support your journey into SharePoint and AI. We have seen many people try and do it alone and come unstuck, get lost, not know what the art of the possible is, and falling foul of having to start the whole process again potentially because they weren't really prepared themselves for it. When it comes to getting people's buy-in and getting people onboarded into SharePoint, we found that things like an internal champion is an absolute game changer. Having people inside the organization who work more closely with Xperience Group in order to build and prepare SharePoint, those internal champions can then help further the messaging across the organization and to help train other people across the organization. And all of these things will help lead to a successful outcome. Thank you again for attending the webinar today. You will receive a copy of the slides and this recording, and please just reach out to us if we can help you in your SharePoint transformation journey. Thank you very much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.